And this is what people need to understand. You're on appropes. Now, and Ken Calvert is my buddy, so you go find Ken and buddy up with Ken. He'll show you the ropes. How do you like it? Tell people about appropriations.
Well, I think it's going to be a very important committee going forward, and I do think it's going to be a committee where there's going to be a lot of bipartisan work here, which obviously, if you've been following what's been happening this week, seems a little short on the order. But no, I'm really excited to work on appropriations. I met with some of the team members yesterday. We had our first full appropriations committee meeting yesterday, and it's truly the committee that touches every area of the budget, every area, every department. And so I think that's really, really important to have a budget hawk, a taxpayer advocate on that committee so that we're making sure we're being responsible with money. And so that's one of the reasons why I ran for office in the first place was I'm a taxpayer too, and I was frustrated at what was happening with our government, and I think we need some more accountability measures there.
Well, let's talk about that, Congresswoman Hinson, getting very serious. People need to know the Committee on Appropriations, if I was going to go to Congress, I would pick appropes. And not Ways and Means. Some people like armed services, and I understand the importance of both of those, and I follow them closely. I got Mike Gallagher on the show weekly. But if you want to actually, government can only arrest you or spend money when it comes down to it. And spending money starts on on appropriations. The tax code starts at Ways and Means. So which subcommittee are you on, Congresswoman Hinson?
So I have a unique role in that not only am I on appropriations, but I'm also on the budget committee. So I'm the designee to the budget committee. So I'll be keeping an eye on both the mandatory spending side and the discretionary side, which the discretionary is obviously what we handle on appropriations. And so I am on the Transportation HUD subcommittee as well as Homeland Security. I think those are going to be great places where when I'm looking at what I want to bring home to the district and get done, Iowa relies on infrastructure spending. We need to make sure we're focusing on those projects. That's really important for my district. And then just nationally right now, I think Homeland Security is such an important committee to be on. And, the additional areas that I'm excited to work on, we've had a lot of natural disasters in Iowa, and FEMA funding and oversight of FEMA is really important to me as well, and my constituents back home.
Now, is HUD your subcommittee, Housing and Urban Development?
Yep. So Transportation and HUD. Yep.
Okay. Let me quickly put in a pitch. I spent 3.5 hours at a federal district court hearing on Skid Row yesterday. And if you went to USC, you know that about 10 miles from there, actually 4 miles from there, is Skid Row, 50 square blocks of LA, which is the zombie apocalypse. It's the worst place I've ever been. I hope you folks go in for block grants and that you do not let the city and county of LA blow that money. Honest to goodness, I have never seen governmental dysfunction like that in my life.
Well, and these states keep on doing this, which is what I think is really frustrating. When I was there, I watched that. I'm familiar with Skid Row. It's a terrible situation, and clearly it's not getting any better. And I think we're all tired of hearing that they want to take action on it, yet they aren't doing anything to help the homeless population there. And so there does need to be accountability measures in place with the money. That's one of the reasons I introduced a bill this week on the floor to reopen our schools and actually put some accountability measures in with that money that we've already appropriated, $54 billion for schools. So when I look at what our job is in Congress, it's truly oversight and accountability. And I think it's my job to come in and say, these need to be your guide rails on this funding so that, like you said, they don't take the money and do something else with it.
Now, Congresswoman Hinson, people who don't understand, appropriations is an exclusive committee. I don't know how you're on budget as well as appropes, because that means you've won the golden ticket Willy Wonka style, and you landed on one of the big three, which is finance, Ways and Means, and appropes. How come you get to be on budget? I thought it was an exclusive committee.
So there is always an appropriations designee to the budget committee so that one arm knows what the other arm is doing. And I think that's just really, really important as you're looking at our spending process, which I think we can all agree needs some changes. Obviously I'm serving in the minority. I think I'm going to try to be as loud a voice as I can be for the process and making sure that there's transparency there. But yeah, it's a great spot to be in as a freshman. I think I'm going to learn a lot about the process. And I talked to a number of members yesterday, our first committee meeting, and everyone was saying, even people who've been on the committee are saying they're learning new things about the way our government operates. that's coming from people who've been there, 10 years.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Ken Calvert really is a smart guy. He's an old friend. So is Leader McCarthy, an old friend. I've been doing this a long time. But tell people a little bit about you. Okay, so we joked about USC. Then you went into broadcast journalism. Why into politics 4 years ago? You went into the state legislature and then you ran for Congress. It's kind of a meteoric rise. Dwayne and I were joking before you came on. You were born in '83, which makes us both feel ancient. Why did you do this?
Well, when I was looking at standing up for taxpayers, which is really important for me, I'm a mom first. I think I should say that, mom and wife. My husband, Matt, and my two boys, Max and Jax, they're back home weathering a snowstorm right now, and I'm weathering the storm in D.C., so I guess we're both fighting storms. But, I think it's just really important to speak up and be a voice for things that you care about. And I still remember back in 2008, 2009, when I was anchoring morning news, I was, in at work at 3 a.m. and wasn't making a whole lot of money at the time. And I remember when our state budget had a 10% across the board cut because of bad budgeting practices under a Democrat administration. And I watched that and I was so personally offended because, I wasn't making very much money. And what I was paying in taxes, I thought, boy, they're wasting it. And I can do better. And so that was kind of my idea in running for office was I think it's really important you have someone who thinks like that and stands up for taxpayers every step of the way. So that's why.
Which market did you broadcast in?
Cedar Rapids, Waterloo, and Dubuque, and Iowa City was the TV market. So kind of Northeast Iowa. I was on the ABC affiliate KCRG for more than 10 years. And
that's kind of remarkable. You actually know how the sausage is made. I did television news in L.A., actually from 92 to 2002. You wouldn't have been here yet. But people who don't ever work behind the camera don't know how it works. Does that give you an advantage in dealing with the media?
I think so, but I think what it does is it gives me respect from my former colleagues in the media. I actually started running cameras at an ABC affiliate in Des Moines when I was in high school. So I got the behind the scenes picture, got the bug for journalism, but also had worked in a lot of those jobs. I was a reporter, morning reporter, so I was out covering things live before I was on the anchor desk. So I worked my way up, and I think it has prepared me well for doing this job as well because, as you know, communicating what you're doing is so important, and I believe in transparency and communication, and I think that's important for my constituents back home, but I think it's also important in working with my colleagues here.
Well, Representative Ashley Hinson, keep coming back. Iowa First. Your Twitter handle is Rep. Ashley Hinson, ASHLEYHINSON. Superstar, ends up on appropriations. Didn't know that till this morning, and we will overlook the USC stuff. Honest to goodness, go Bruins, and otherwise, you will be welcome here anytime, Congresswoman.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Hugh, for having me, and have a great day.
You too.